the German populace, that resilient mosaic of burghers from the Rhine's fog-shrouded vineyards, stoic farmers tilling the Oder's fertile floodplains, and soot-streaked factory hands in the Ruhr's humming forges, was profoundly disconcerted by the ominous undercurrents of 1939, their everyday rhythms. Market day haggling over sauerkraut barrels, Sunday strolls under linden canopies, and evening Volksempfänger broadcasts crackling with veiled threats, disrupted by a growing pall of uncertainty that mirrored the government's own veiled anxieties in Berlin's chancelleries, where frantic cables zipped between Ribbentrop's envoys and Hitler's inner sanctum amid the clink of crystal decanters and the scratch of frantic memos. We soldiers, those of us forged in the Reichswehr's lean interwar discipline and haunted by the spectral, unvarnished tales of our father's great war infernos, trenches knee-deep in the sucking muck of Flanders, barbed wire entanglements like the devil's own hedgerows dripping with the gore of no-man's-land charges, the ceaseless, soul-shattering thunder of 77 millimeters, field guns reaping limbs and sanity in equal measure at the Somme or Verdun's meat grinders, were certainly not enthused by the gilded prospect of an early hero's death, that propagandist euphemism for a bullet-riddled end in some rain-lashed furrow, a bayonet-twisted gasp amid the gas's yellow pall. Yet bound by oaths sworn on parade ground slick with morning dew and the unyielding ethos of duty's iron yoke, we steeled our hearts, heavy as leaden canteens slung o'er Feldgrau shoulders, prepared to shoulder the bitter mantle, knowing the fatherland's clarion call, amplified by Goebbels' megaphone, brooked no craven recoil. By mid-July 1939, as harvest moons swelled fat and golden over ripening wheat fields undulating like a golden sea toward the horizon, and the air hummed with the insistent drone of Heinkel He-51 biplane trainers slicing through crystalline summer skies in tight V formations, all our units swelled inexorably to peak personnel strength unseen since the frantic, fevered mobilizations of August 1914. Barracks across the Reich, from Kiel's naval yards to Munich's Alpine barracks, overflowing with fresh-faced conscripts in Feldgrau tunics, stiff as starch collars, their eyes a turbulent mix of boyish bravado masking the buried dread of letters from home tucked in breast pockets. Everything unfolded with the flawless, metronomic precision of a Prussian parade, a vast, well-oiled leviathan of timetables etched in indelible ink and telegrams rattling along copper wires. Supply trains groaning from the Ruhr's belching forges laden with oiled Mauser crates stamped with eagle and swastika seals. Gleaming Krupp howitzer barrels shrouded in tarpaulin. Quartermasters in peaked caps barking inventories under the harsh glare of gas-lit lanterns in depots alive with the clang of crate lids and the murmur of manifests. No overt whisper of the looming cataclysm escaping the lips of even the lowliest orderly or greengrocer hawking wilted cabbages, though secretly, in the hushed, smoke-wreathed corners of smoky Kasernen over mugs of ersatz coffee bitter as regret, each of us harbored the fervent, unspoken hope that this grand, inexorable muster would dissolve like so many pre-war saber rattles and Munich farces, a fleeting storm cloud scudding across blue skies to yield once more to the familiar cadences of civilian life. In early August, beneath skies brooding with the metallic tang of impending thunderheads and wild thyme carpeting the sun-baked border meadows in purple profusion, our 2nd Battalion of Infantry Regiment 3, those indomitable East Prussians hailing from Königsberg's fog-shrouded dockyards, where herring gulls wheeled over the Priegels, Amber Trade, and Allensteins farmsteads nestled amid the Masurian Lake's glassy expanses, embarked on a grueling fortification exercise along the taut, electrified seam of the Polish frontier, where the Vistula's languid, willow-fringed curves lapped at the Reich's unyielding iron resolve like a serpent testing stone. We toiled unceasing under the relentless, brass-hued sun that baked the earth to crack pottery, erecting casemates of sweat-soaked sandbags piled like bastions against the void and timber revetments, laced with anti-tank ditches yawning like open graves, positions primed for any sudden flare-up with our fractious eastern neighbor, shovels biting into the unyielding loam with rhythmic thuds, pickaxes ringing like anvils as calluses split and reformed, sweat tracing salty rivulets down sun, burnished necks and matting Feldgrau collars, while sergeants with stopwatches in one fist and riding crops in the other pace the lines barking Schnell, you sluggards. The fatherland's gaze is upon you, dig or die dreaming. It struck me then, amid the ceaseless clang of iron on earth and the distant, mournful lowing of border cattle herded by wary Polish shepherds, that deliberate, unspoken measures spared married men, especially those paterfamilias with wide-eyed kinder clutching faded sepia photos from Hearthside albums, tiny hands waving farewell from station platforms, from the vanguard's howling maw, a quiet, bureaucratic mercy woven into the Wehrmacht's grim calculus like a hidden seam in a well-forged blade, funneling family anchors to rearward depots stocked with ledgers and latrines, while we eternal bachelors, unburdened by nursery rhymes or mortgage ledgers, shouldered the foxhole's bone-chilling vigil. As my 9th Company mustered for irrevocable departure from our Ostrode garrison, boots thudding in unison on cobblestone slick with the morning's chill dew, knapsacks bulging with iron rations of hardtack and tin sausage, the weight of unspoken farewells heavier than the Mausers slung across shoulders, I received abrupt, ink-fresh orders transferring me to the newly minted Divisional Replacement Battalion, Field Replacement Battalion 21, a transient hive of wide-eyed reservists in battle, scarred fillers destined for the grinder's insatiable edge, their faces a gallery of reluctant resolve under the depot's harsh arc lamps. The parting from my 9th Company comrades, those rough-hewn souls with whom I'd shared a decade's unyielding drill-field drudgery, from the Reichswehr's austere 20s maneuvers on frost-cracked parade grounds to the Wehrmacht's swelling ranks amid the clatter of new-minted panzers, their laughter a bulwark against Irwin's lash and the Kasernen's soul-numbing monotony. Bonds forged in shared foxholes during 30 SXS Rhineland Gambit and 38's Sudeten Shadow Play was a knot in the throat heart or two, swallowed in the parade ground dust of 1,000 route marches, each man clasping forearms in silent packs, eyes speaking volumes of "see you in the wire" o'er the lump of unsaid regrets. I schemed a swift, clandestine return to the old gang as a replacement in war's first chaotic whirl, forged chits and midnight requisitions. But fate's barbed wire snipped that thread clean as a bolt-action slide. The Field Replacement Battalion encamped in East Prussia's Moraski, LYCK, a sturdy timber town of steeply pitched, thatched roofs red as foxbrush and cobbled lanes winding past half-timbered Rothhauser, nestled amid the Masurian Lake's labyrinth, where glassy waters mirrored the linden-dappled spires of onion-domed Kirchen. And 3rd Army's nerve center pulsed beneath subdued banners proclaiming, "Exercise Army, 3rd Command," to veil the steel beneath silk. 3rd Army's helm was our erstwhile overlord, General of Artillery George von Kuckler, a silver temple titan of the Great War's thunderous symphonies, his monocle glinting like a signal flare in the gaslit war rooms where maps unrolled like ancient scrolls, whose nucleus drew from East Prussia's trinity of ironclad divisions, 1st, 11th, and 12th Infantry, those indomitable sons of the Weichsel's floodplains where storks nested on chimney pots, and the Priegel's amber trade gilded the guilds. Ledgers, slender in sinew compared to Silesia's swells, 3rd Army mustered but 8 infantry divisions of steady Lancer. The 4th Panzer Brigade's growling PZK PFW-2s with their 20mm pea shooters, and the Wehrmacht's Lone Horse Cavalry Brigade, sabers flashing in sunlit practice charges that evoked Frederick's hussars thundering across the Luthen snows, making it the leanest field army in the Polish fray, a rapier amid mauls. By stark contrast, 10th Army's phalanx brimmed with 18 divisions in serried ranks, 2 panzer juggernauts of rumbling Panzer IIIs and IVs with 75mm snarls, and 2 motorized wolves of half-tracks churning dust, a mechanized avalanche primed for the Silesian Plains' broad sweeps. Upon alighting in Moraski's rail sidings amid the sharp tang of pine resin mingling with the acrid belch of locomotive steam that coiled like battlefield smoke, I reported forthwith to the staff sergeant of my assigned replacement company, a kindly graybeard nearing his 24th service year, one of the rare 24-year men, whose yellowed soul butch bespoke a life in the regimental band's muted brass. His tuba-calloused hands more at home on valves and mouthpieces than rifle stocks or trench spades. This venerable topkick, alas, would perish in a futile, fog-shrouded lunge against the Maginot's unyielding concrete jaws come the 40's Zarland stab. His bandmaster's baton traded for a bayonet in the wire. Swift as a drill command barked at reveille. Postmuster in Muraski's squat brick barracks, where the air hummed with the anxious chatter of reservists unpacking mothballed uniforms stiff with naphthalene and the clatter of uncrating field packs. The battalion outfitted the influx with mechanical efficiency. Mauser 98 KS-oiled to a gleaming menace, leather harnesses creaking anew under the weight of MG-34 bandoliers. Zeltbahn canvas tents folded crisp as fresh fallen snow for hasty lintos. Entrainment followed like clockwork's inexorable tick. Boxcars groaning under the crush of 1,000 souls in serried benches, their rifles stacked like cordwood amid the sway and screech. Whistles shrilling as we chugged eastward toward the 3rd Division's assembly near Grodno's brooding pine forests, that Polish border bastion of Tsarist ghosts in onion-domed wooden synagogues, and the faint, lingering echo of Cossack hooves on cobble. As a seasoned non-commissioned officer with salt in my soul butch from 28's Marienwerder miseries, I was promptly shunted rear to our East Prussian garrison cradle, Osterode, where a decade prior I'd endured recruit hell under Irwin's unblinking glare and the parade ground's unyielding gravel. That quaint burg of 16,000 souls, cradled by the Drika's gentle, reed-fringed bends. Its half-timbered rathaus, with gables carved like fairy-tale eaves and lace-curtained Gasthauser, a postcard idol of Teutonic thrift and amber-lit evenings. Osterode's modest economy pulsed to the rhythm of our 1,000 Feldgrau heartbeats. Pay lean as a recruit's first mark, doled in crisp notes from a paymaster's ledger. Yet our custom gilded the grocer's scales with orders for tinned sardines and black bread loaves, the tavern taps flowing freer for our steins. From the baker's rye rounds warm with caraway seeds and crackling crusts to the cobbler's, all mending jackboots worn thin by endless route marches under East Prussia's leaden skies. Sans grave unseemliness by post-war lenses of moral microscopes. Even our brawls were boyish tussles over a spilled stein of Zuber or a dice game's heated tab. Osterode's burghers welcomed us as kin to the soil, their daughters' blushes a silent accolade amid the market square's bustle of housewives in embroidered aprons haggling over cabbages. Diversions flowered like Edelweiss in alpine cracks. Twin cinemas with velvet seats and flickering silver screens unspooling Ufa romances of dashing Ulan and tragic Trümmerfrauen. Newsreels of the Führer's strides through Nuremberg's torchlit throngs. 3 dance cafes pulsing with the wheeze of accordions and the syncopated foxtrots of jazz-tinged cabaret, where couples swirled under crystal chandeliers to blue Danube variants. A dozen cozy taverns aglow with lantern light casting amber. Pools on oaken beams etched by generations' tankard rings, their walls papered with faded hunting prints and the faint haze of pipe tobacco. Guest house inns dispensing schnitzel crisp as autumn leaves fried in lard, potatoes boiled fluffy as clouds. Young infantrymen's pursuits brimmed with simple joys, feasting on Kartoffelsuppe thick with smoked sausage and dill's sharp kiss, quaffing frothy pilsner till tongues loosened in raucous choruses of Die Wacht am Rhein. Whirling polkas in sweat-slick halls where skirts flared like fireworks, or sporting on the Masurian links, football pitches scarred by divots from overzealous headers, rowing shells slicing the lake's glassy sheen, with oar blades flashing like sabers. Rail and steamer-wove excursions through the Heimat's tapestry, to the Nogut's reedy marshes teeming with wild duck, or Warmia's Gothic cloisters, where Teutonic Knight's banners frayed in the rafters, satchels stuffed with black bread wrapped in wax paper, and the boundless wanderlust of youth unchained. Weekends waltzed in 3 grand halls, lanterns swaying like fireflies in the rafters, gramophones with brass horns crooning pre-war hits like Lily Marlene, ere its wartime woe twisted it to lament, or private clubs of velvet intrigue. Invitation-only salons with settees upholstered in faded brocade and whispered assignations behind potted palms, or pay-entry dens where a single mark bought entry to the phrase fevered pulse. Culture's call? Sparse for us trench diggers more at home with bayonets than Brahms, Beethoven's martial marches or sonata sighs, but coins jingled dictated dalliances dance. 5 marks sufficed in Eve's elixir, moods forge in a dance hall's haze thick with perfume and perspiration. Entries toll. 3 marks at the frosted glass door, a perpetual potion at the bar's scarred oak to nurse through the night, Initiatives spur for the frugal fox. Bar-adjacent fug of stale beer and sawdust. The impecunious huddled like conspirators, grizzled great war ghosts. Verdun's veterans with faded iron crosses pinned askew. Psalms mud eternal in their squint, and the rasp of gas-scarred lungs. Best boon companions. Their tales of wire crawls under star-shell glare and gas-mask charges through the devils would regaling o'er refreshed steins of sudsy pills. A virtuoso sponge extending hours with feigned awe and wide-eyed gasps. Got him Himmel. Uncle, tell of the Kaiser's angels again. Those Fokkers diving like Valkyries. Escapes art honed to finesse. Feigned bladder's urgent call with a furtive slip to the WC. Lest yarns and snare till the milkmaid's dawn chorus. East Prussian maids. Beauties of flaxen braids woven with cornflower blue ribbons and eyes like the sky o'er the Curonian spit. Soldiery, a yardstick of manhood's metal. Reichswares ring a lover's laurel etched in gold. Yet Osterode's quandary loomed like a gathering squall. 1,000 lusty lads or 16,000 souls strained virtues thread to fraying. Nice girls navigating wolves in Feldgrau with the wariness of hares in the heather. Psyche's map for the chase. Post-pubescent infantry's whims a whirlwind of barracks boasts and fleeting fancies. Dawn chorus conquests in the Kasernen a siren's bane. Tales tall as the Teutoburg's oaks. Garrison lore. Passed like mother's milk from generation to embroidered apron. Whispers of dalliance's dawn chorus. The price of passion's print in parade ground prattle. Thus, blooming passions foundered Sans Guile's guide. Nice girls bulwark the town's unwritten code. A lattice of glances and locked doors. Osterode's citizenry? Warm to wedlock's vow with career soldiers. Our 12-year odes a civil servant's pledge of hearth and ledger. Unions welcomed like dowries doubled in the parson's ledger. Like kin East Prussianburgs hugging vast lake's lapsis shores, it cradled a shimmering expanse. Lower quarters esplanade garlanded on holidays with kilometer-long chains of paper lanterns swaying like captive stars. A pier's docks cradling excursion steamers amid the slap of wavelets on weathered pilings and the cries of herring gulls wheeling overhead. Canals laced the lakes in silvery threads. Easy jaunts to Allenstein's soaring brick spires or the Frisch's half's brackish brine, where amber washed ashore like tiers of ancient pines. Early 30s, Battalion's Water Sports Club. Canoes sleek as arrows and rowboats sturdy as farm carts. Summer's constant companions. Ferrying sweethearts to rush-fringed coves where dragonflies skimmed the shallows or emerald isles carpeted in wild strawberries. Whispers lost to the lap of lapping waves. Late summer, 39's idols? Fading phantoms o'er the horizon. August dog days, a requiem etched in amber light. Lore whispered in the Kasernen's gloaming. Pre-14 summer sublime as swan song. Nature's splendor a lavish, bow air the slaughter's curtain rose. 25 years on, each day a masterpiece of cruel caprice. Sunsets bleeding crimson o'er the lake's glassy mirrors. Air thick with the honeyed hum of bees in linden bloom and the faint, fairest tang of harvest scythes. Ere the dying commenced in earnest, a reaper's shadow lengthening. August 25th Eve, as twilight's violet veil draped the steeples. Company commanders murmur o'er a shared pipe. H-hour looms like thunder on the Masuren. His voice gravel rough with the weight of wiretapped whispers. Delays veiled in diplomatic fog. Feverish cables crisscrossing the Wilhelmstrasse. Ribbentrop's impotence fuming like a snuff cigar. Dice tumbled in the Führer's den. August 31st. Von Ribbentrop's abdication of parley. Negotiations null as ash. Case white, edict crackled o'er the wires. Missions immutable as mountain stone. X-day September 1st. X-hour 0445. Weserübung's echo, but steelier. Window flung at 0500's gray half-light. Southern horizon's endless peal of thunder. A rolling bass that vibrated the Kasernen's very bones. Border artillery's maw agape. 105mm salvos shrieking o'er the Masurins like avenging furies. Their muzzle flares stitching the pre-dawn like false lightning. Dumbstruck, childhood's 14 phantoms surged unbidden. Trenches rats gnawing at boot leather. Gas's yellow pall choking the cries of the gassed at Ypres. Heart hammering as if to burst the ribs. Barracks squares hush shattered. Major Von T, ex-11th Company's ghost in staff plumes, starched crisp. Besieged by a knot of wide-eyed lanes. their queries tumbling like spent casings. Shrug of world-worn shoulders. This time, lads. The shooting's real as the grave, no exercises blank. 9 months shy my 12-year pin's release. Blissful ignorance shielded us from the war's 6-year scourge. Its end a pyre of ruins and reckonings unseen. The Volks cheers for the Blitz a dirge in embryo. September 1st, 1939. Epic's merciless hinge. Europe's visage scarred eternal in Blitzkrieg's blaze. World War II's overture thundering from Westerplatt's guns to Warsaw's weeping. Field Replacement Battalion alerted at 0800's clarion. Polish thrust at Weichsel's ferry near Krzetnik. South 2, Marienwerder 4 kilometers from the 500-meter span's brooding expanse. Opposite corridor patrols light as gossamer in their watchtowers. Panic's primer, war's baptismal jitters. We dug plateaus west, vain earthworks of spade-thrown clay refilled by dusk's grudging light. False alarms farce, a recruit's right writ large. Dawn's shuttle symphony. Bomber squadrons droned south in ceaseless echelons. Dornier do 17s, and Heinkel, he 111s, stitching the sky like iron locusts. Polish Marshal R.Y. Dizzy Smigley's Berlin March mirage shattered in cradle smash. Air Force craters pocking runways like lunar scars. September 4th. Division skirts brushed Grodno's fortress ramparts, seized on the 5th amid the rubble's acrid reek and the wail of Polish matrons. Southeast pivot through the province's pine-shrouded lanes. Poland ward once more. Battalion forded narrow twixt Lomza and Ostroka's thatched hamlets. Days slog to Białystok's bazaars fragrant with spices and smoke. Polish phrase soul skirmish for me. Narrow south, rest halt in a birch coppice shattered, scattered Poles north. Battle-ready, bicycle patrol under me pedaled recon on creaking frames. Tires humming o'er rutted tracks. Kilometers sand sign till haystack meadows golden hummocks. Stack suspect in the sun's slant. Bayonets probed straw with steel's whisper. Screams rent the air like tearing silk. Hay animated in frantic twitch. Dispersed poles crept forth from lairs. Weapons yielded sands a shot spite. Bunkers ghosts with eyes wild as cornered wolves. Stuka shrieks saptwill, perqueries o'er cigarettes. Dive sirens wailed banshee. 500 kilograms eggs blooming black earth geysers that buried bunkers in their own debris. Białystok marches, somber milepost. German graves mound of fresh-turned soil. Recon companies ambush pyre. Crosses raw-hewn with names like litanies. Sandheath convoys dust-choke serpent. 10th Army's lead thundering past. General Fedor von Bock. Radiant in open Hort staff car, greatcoat billowing like a banner. Saluted with raised arm, cry ringing clear. Heil Hitler, my dear comrades, on to glory. Poland felled in 8 days blitz of Panzer wedges and Luftwaffe's lace. Resistance's embers guttered October 1st, for weeks pyre from Westerplatt's defiant guns. Curbside vigil in Osteroad's throng. 9th Company's torches snaking homeward through cheering lanes lined with kerchiefed Hausfrauen and kinder-waving birch switches. Populace's roars a bomb o'er the dead/wounded's pall. Bugles keening taps for the fallen. Post-Poland's afterglow. 21st Infantry entrained Weston cattle cars reeking of straw and sweat. Saar Valley's spa idle. Bad Neuenar's elegant villas with wrought iron balconies and thermal springs bubbling mineral kiss under plane trees dapple. For East Prussians from flat rural loams, scarred by the Teutonic Knight's furrows, luxury's lap in lace-curtained salons. Troops swift scholars in Allure's academy, Rhine maidens. Dark tresses and olive skins rivaled East Prussia's flaxen braids, Roman-echoed in the Moselle's vine-clad slopes, where legionaries' seed centuries deep mingled with Frankish blood. Roadside in Deauville Villa, owner's daughter, raven locks cascading like midnight waterfalls, eyes emerald as the channel's breakers, platonic spark kindled o'er vin ordinaire, love's whisper unrequited in stolen glances and shared silences. Return east, friend introduced to Elsa. Union swift as spring's thaw, war's scythe reaped him 45's dregs in some nameless edge, widows not to gastronome, in's bloom to elegance amid lace doilies. Now him sojourns, Elsa's hearth aglow with beeswax tapers, husbands gnawed o'er cognac. Ghost's grace in her resilient smile. Rejoin 161st East Prussia. Infantry Regiment 371's company fold, regimental engineer platoon lead, fit hands and sturdy backs promised in the muster rolls. But militiamen mustered instead. Protests vain as prayers, swaps scant as mercy, contents creed my creed. Inspections farce in private digs, polish dazzle brass and guests alike, peacetime pomp o'er pioneers' craft of crater and cleaver. France 40. Platoons' paucity proved unwitting boon. Veterans cool in the breach cleared mines with wire snips snick and obstacles with Bangalore thunder. Training's temper unbowed. Schlagerkrupp near Allenstein. Weeks forge in pine-shrouded yards. Regiment to Zinton, 4th Panzer's ghost barracks. Echoes of PZK-PFW tracks on concrete. Commander. Reserve Cavalry Colonel, China Advisor to Chiang Kai-shek. 26 cadre of Mandarins. Silvered sages, swapped like chessmen. Division Head Major General Hermann Wolk, Old China Hand. Mandarin's wisdom in his clipped commands. May 2, 1940. Westbound Baumholder. Third Reich reverse from frontiers frost to frontiers fog. Front's carousel spinning anew. May 10th. Westfeldzugs clarion pealed. 161st March Tunsrucks, Serpentine Ridges to 16th Army Reserve. Saar Valley's May blaze sands breezes mercy. Villages cool stone cellars, a fleeting bomb amid the sweat-soaked column. Motorized maelstroms right away. 3 days halt in wine country billets, vines heavy with unripe Riesling's promise. Cellars earthy tang, a whisper of Moselle's bounty. Trier's Roman spires and vine terrace slopes, north to Luxembourg. Echternach's quaint lanes of slate roof charm, Bad Mondorf's bubbling springs. Security's watchful vigil o'er the frontier's fragile peace. Deeper phrase pull. West to Maginot's flank, French shadow lengthening. Knight's sable cloak, attackers' shroud of stealth. Defenders dread in the void, infantry's bane in gloom's grip, where friend and foe blur to phantoms. Battalion to wood's lip, Maginot's concrete Yonagape, French fears flare. Machine guns staccato chatter, stitching the dark, 75s, spite arcing like vengeful comets through the murk. Bunkers blind to shadows, slinking in the underbrush. Dawn's vigil shattered. Hysterical sergeant roused me from cot straw, all lost. French swarm like locusts. Half-clad dash through the dew-slick grass. Unearthly hush. Sun's amiable bath gilding the border in honeyed light. No foe in sight. Barrage's birth pangs birth panic stampede. Woods battalion huddled. French assault of fantasies fevered fruit. Inexperienced flight in the wire's whisper. Pioneer pairs dispatched. Enemy ward hours hike through bramble and birch. Wood secured sands a shot. Barrage toll a grim tithe. 1 dead in the splinter shower. Folly's fee paid in blood. Division's last Maginot lunge. June 21st. Long Y Road's dusty vein. Outflanks thrust. Northwest Panzer's kin in the iron dance. 0700 Fairmont assault. Reinforced concrete's unyielding bulk. Armored cupolas like steel turtles. High command's lore scant as supply chits. Pioneers unconsulted in the hasty huddle. No demo's thunderous kiss. Haste's hubris a hollow drum. Old colonel's lapse. Platoon's oblivion in the order's fog, embarrassed edict. 2 squads per battalion. Afterthoughts alms. Joined 2nd Battalion. Reserve captains lead through the sap's gloom. Wire snipped with bolt cutter's bite. Mines plucked from the clay with gloved care. Halt at turret's maw. Machine guns lash a hornet swarm. Prep's parade of feudal fury. Stuka's whale diving like falcons. Skoda 305's seismic boom shaking the earth. 210's growl. 105 batteries choral thunder. 88's flak fury lancing skyward. Feudal. Bunkers unbowed as Teutonic tombs. Pioneers plea for smoke's veil. Limpet's magnetic kiss. Flamethrowers breath of hell. Denied in the din. Old staff sergeant's charge. Second slaughter under turret's teeth. Bodies crumpling like discarded rags. Regiments push for encore. Captain's retort. Front's gaze quelled clamor with a lieutenant's lead. 1981 Comrades High. Fairmont's good luck both sides. June 21st. 0700 Reinforced Battalion. Sands Heavy's hammer. 1100 halt in the wire. June 17th. 88's hold blockhouse 4's 1.75 m skin. Ammo's brink spare dooms bloom. French pullback June 19th. Wood's emergence target rich. Lux ledger balanced on a knife. June 21st Eve. Pioneers regrouped weary. Major Ritter summons. Scapegoat summons in a candle-lit hovel. 16 souls inadequacy Fairmont's falls fault. Nonsenses gnawed o'er schnapps. Goiter's gripe. The Assault, a Farce of Forgotten Prep. June 22nd. Guns mute as mourners. Days on. Fairmont's Commandant Capitaine Daniel O'Burr yielded to Little Colonel. Artillery's white flag fluttering from the casemate vent. Cavalry/communications colleagues. Fairmont's garrison in gray defeat. Gallows grin masking the gall. Victors? France's fall 4 stars. Your blitz our burial. Humor's harness, brittle as bone. West's when sands are sweat. Good intense garland. Iron Cross 2nd for platoon's grit in the gap. 161st East Post France. Suwalki wedge, Polish scars fresh suture. 10 moons morph. Friendlyberg with stock German house. Innkeep's girth cuisines boast o'er platters of schnitzel. Colonel's quip. Eyes shut he burst like overproof schnapps. Sarcasm scalpel, Berlin burrs bite. Cavalry Colonel's China ghosts. Sake's cadre of mandarins. Chang's council in silk and intrigue. Silvered sages swapped like chessmen in the Forbidden Cities game. Adjutant. Silesian noble, self-slain 45. Homophile haze hushed by family veil. Cousins Romania ramble rueful. Whispers o'er rakia. Reich's east-west weave. Ludwig's List Mecklenburg. Grand Duke's domain. 18 abdications echo in marble halls. 60% soil noble's fief. Farmland's feudal fold. 14,000 souls. Cavalry Regiment 14th's ghost. Freiherr von Arnhem's helm. Sabers shine long faded. Reserve Cavalry. Colonel Freiherr von Rutter. Adjutant Lieutenant Graf von Bernstorff. Noble's nest of monocles and mustaches. Infantry's incursion. Mess denial. Valuables veil. Mecklenburg Manor's gifts from Charlotte's court. Colonel's ire kindled. Born Ulan Regiment 8 saddle. Noble wed to Baroness. Infantry's ill luck a demotion sting. Cavalier's slight. Sarcasm sting o'er the wire. Secure treasures? Us entry denied. Bernstorff snap. Uniforms lapse. Salute sloth. Button collar. Graf. Not general no ribbon. Lieutenant's lore from pro. Cavaliers conquest quelled. Nearby Luftwaffe Club. Bomber squadron's bounty. Pilots plumage preening in leather jackets. Females flocked. Aces allure o'er cavalry's creek. Nobles' noses bloodied in the crush. Regimental frolic, Luftwaffe's wing. Hard words wake. Majors rank-rant rankled o'er the punch bowl. Youth's tilt, Luftwaffe's lean. My zeal o'ermic. Majors' malice mulled in the morn. Mecklenburg maids, Slavic sorcery in the blood, blondes blue-eyed. Trallwarner heirs of Obotrite princes. Catholic Rhines reserve. Mecklenburg's mirth, unconcern's allure. Soldiers succumb to the sway. Temptation's toll. Major's revenge brood slow post-band dance. Staff's revel in Prince Blucher. Soviets Ernst Thalmann rename. Colonel's cap-off. Beauty's bounty. His waltz with Raven Stunner. My week's conquest. O'er imbibed o'er sleep in linen sheets. Postmaster's peak. Missing miss. Officer's shadow o'er the ledger. Regimental leaves luck. Grass o'er the gossip. Cows graze. Major's mirror. Sin's symmetry. My folly flogged. Not fall. In the commander's den. Oberst's outrage. Ladies' man. Town's jewel ravished in revelry. Assurance's heir. Drunk damsel. Staff sights and scandal. Unheeded. Viewpoints vice o'er the vice. Post girl to Schwerin. Officials out. Ledger closed. 45 shadow. Raven's reunion. Physician wed. Corlin's call a distant drum. Health's wish whispered. Heart's hush o'er the hearth. Commission's cusp. Boots breeches bespoke in Ulm's tannery. Orderly's good morning lieutenant. Seniority snag. 35's first lieutenant skipped. Lunch's leer. Colonel's quip. Conspicuous. Fork scrape. Peas peril his probe o'er the soup. Political Paul. Goebbels' greatest commander ever. Colonel's curl. Learned trade? Doubtful as a drummer's degree. Sand table snare. Officer's muster. General's gaze. Capless. German greeting. Bowed brief as a breath. Oberst's laxity irked? Or payback's point. Doctrine's dicta mangled. Condescending correction crimson cheeks. Virgin-like. Pioneer parade. Ludwig's List's luster. Picture book polish. Guests gasp o'er the gleam. Spit o'er craft's call. Spring 41. Atlantic's allure Deauville. Colonel's Cody Villa. Perfumes park o'er ocean's roar. Waves crashing like applause. Deauville's dream. Summer manners of stucco and slate. Filmed flicker lux in celluloid haze. No walls warts yet. England's Eva whisper in the wardroom. Ship loading sham. Seal Inspector, Deauville reveal rivulets delta. High tides haste on barnacle-crusted hulls. Muds maw yawning 10m at ebb. Seaworthiness sneer from the quarterdeck. Redder's reticence. Transports threadbare fleet. Warships want in the North Sea's gray. England's gamble folly's folly. Eyes east to the steppes siren call. June 22nd, 41's bulletin. Barbarossa's birth, throw o'er the ether.